Ahriman, has been active since the mid-15th century and is growing ever stronger until eventually an actual incarnation of Ahriman will occur within Western humanity. Now, it is intrinsic to such things that they are long prepared beforehand. Just as Lucifer once appeared in human form in China, and Christ Jesus appeared in human form in the Near East, so Ahrimanic powers are preparing human evolution in a way that will allow humanity to succumb to Ahriman when he eventually appears in human form in Western civilization, which will scarcely any longer be civilization as we know it. There is no use entertaining illusions about such things. Ahriman will appear in human form. All that will matter is the degree to which he finds humankind prepared for his arrival. Whether his preparations will enable him to enlist all humanity, all civilization as we know it, to follow his dictates, or whether he will find a humanity that can offer him resistance. Illusions are of no help here. Nowadays, people try to evade the truth, and one cannot present it to them plain and unvarnished, because they would mock and ridicule such ideas. But nor can one present such things to them as I tried to do now in the form of the threefold social organism. The majority of them, at least, do not wish to hear about this either. In fact, this refusal to countenance such things is one of the means that Ahrimanic powers can employ to ensure that when Ahriman appears in human form, he will have the greatest possible number of adherents on earth. This refusal to engage with the most important truths will pave the way for Ahriman to thrive in his incarnation. You see, in seeking the right stance toward what will unfold in human evolution through Ahriman, nothing will help except an open-minded perception of the powers which Ahriman employs to act upon us, as well as the powers that can arm humanity against the temptations and ensnarements of Ahrimanic powers. Today, therefore, let us cast a look, at least from various perspectives, on the kinds of things that would consolidate people's adherence to Ahriman, and which now especially the Ahrimanic powers are sending down from supersensible worlds, sending also through human sensibilities, in order to secure as great a following as possible, in order to find the right stance toward the incarnation of Ahriman in the near future. We are obliged to establish this free life of spirit. But nowadays there is still a strong tendency to conceal the realities we spoke of yesterday. The great majority of people conceal these things since they do not wish to contemplate the truth, the reality in things, preferring to delude themselves with words that are divorced from realities. Sometimes this endeavor to avoid approaching realities at all costs is one we might call honest and well-meaning. I wished only to show that there is a yearning within people to move forward, but that they are still slumbering and do not see how powers are at work that suppress this longing. And then there is usually a lack of courage to really express this yearning outwardly, to bring it to the surface. But consider what the effect might be of insight, say, into Ahriman's forthcoming human incarnation, and of how he is preparing this through things I described today and yesterday. We need to gain objective awareness of such matters so that we can adopt the right stance to everything occurring around us as preparation for the incarnation of Ahriman in the future. Yes, we have to shed a good deal of our subjective inclinations, a good deal of what we feel naturally drawn to, which we consider to be pious or clever. Of primary importance today is for us to develop an all-round sense of the truth, and for this, courage is required. That is what I wished to say to you today, so that you can realize that what we are trying to achieve within humanity does not have much deeper roots than merely subjective inclinations or prejudice. It is read from the signs of the times as something that must be undertaken. It has been a relatively long time since we met together here, and I was very concerned today to say what I now have. I hope that we will have a further opportunity to speak about such things again in the not-too-distant future. I am not referring to any particular instance of this, but in our whole cultural environment there is something sleepy about the very impulses that are sprouting everywhere from people's heads. Two things need to be engraved in one's soul today like golden rules. Never has there been such a need as in our fifth post-Atlantean epoch for people to make an increasing effort, which I do not doubt that they can succeed in doing, to achieve what is of such particular value: understanding spiritual scientific knowledge. It is true that spiritual scientific knowledge has to be sought through clairvoyant insight into the spiritual world. That is a necessity. It goes without saying that there must be clairvoyance to research into the spiritual world, that there must be those who strive for spiritual knowledge. Secondly, however, it is of particular importance that people are found who are, by virtue of their intellectual power, able to understand this spiritual scientific knowledge, this knowledge that has been sought in supersensible worlds. The rational grasp of spiritual science is vitally necessary today, for it is the means whereby the opposing cultural forces are overcome. Man's intellect today is so vast that the whole of spiritual science can be understood where there is a will. Moreover, cultivating an understanding of this nature is a matter of universal cultural interest and not an egotistical affair. But something else is also necessary. Much still needs to be wrested from another spirit. We need not merely cleverness with which to gain a real insight into spiritual knowledge, but we need above all, and with the greatest urgency, the words are barely adequate, qualities of liveliness, enthusiasm, fire, and warmth in those human souls who are the recipients of these spiritual gifts. We need people who can demonstrate the reality of these spiritual riches with the whole of their souls. It is in the realm of the inner life that this knowledge must be wrested from the luciferic powers which are now so active in the world. There is a beautiful vista. It is the picture of someone who in calm clarity, but with an inner fire and enthusiasm, because it is for him a necessity, is able to engender an inner warmth for this spiritual knowledge. But there is another picture, that of someone who tries to lull himself to sleep by means of this spiritual knowledge, to become dreamy and imbued with warmth, to expand into the forces of the universe and unite his soul with the divine all. These are contrasts that can easily be observed at the present time, contrasts which it is necessary to observe. For it will not be easy to incorporate what we receive from the Spirit into human culture. And yet this must be done. Human culture needs it. People will not only have to learn to think very differently, they will also have to feel and experience things in a different way. The institutions and ideas, especially the social ideas people have today, are abstract and crude. They are clumsy in the face of the complexities that are lying ahead. And because people are not able to have ideas or concepts about the true nature of things, they are sliding more and more deeply into chaos. The events of the war make this quite clear. Chaos is arising because reality has changed. Reality is becoming fuller and richer than anything people are able to think of or create in their heads. And we shall have to be clear in our minds that we are faced with a choice: to go on beating each other to a pulp, shooting at one another in the way we do now, because we do not know how to bring order into the world, or start to develop concepts and ideas to match the complexity of the situation. A spiritual movement must exist where people seek to develop concepts which meet the real situation. There will be vast numbers of people in future who want to stick to the rumblings of the past. Today they are still in the minority. Their concepts, ideas, and actions will be based on the outside world around them, and on the fact that their bodies are being filled with the Ahrimanic spirit which wants them to form such ideas. We should not fool ourselves, for we are faced with a quite specific movement. At the Council of Constantinople it was decreed that the spirit did not exist. It was dogmatically stated that the human being consisted only of body and soul, and it was heresy to speak of a human spirit. In the same way, attempts will be made to decree the soul, the inner life, as non-existent. The time will come, and it may not be far off, when quite different tendencies will come up at a congress like the one held in 1912, and people will say, it is pathological for people to even think in terms of spirit and soul. Sound, in quotes, people will speak of nothing but the body. It will be considered a sign of illness for anyone to arrive at the idea of any such thing as a spirit or a soul. People who think like that will be considered to be sick, and you can be quite sure of it, a medicine will be found for this. At Constantinople, the spirit was made non-existent. The soul will be made non-existent with the aid of a drug. Taking a, quote, sound point of view, close quote, people will invent a vaccine to influence the organism as early as possible, preferably as soon as it is born, so that this human body never even gets the idea that there is a soul and a spirit. The two philosophies of life will be in complete opposition. One movement will need to reflect how concepts and ideas may be developed to meet the reality of soul and spirit. The others, the heirs of modern materialism, will look for the vaccine to make the body, in quotes, healthy. That is, makes its constitution such that this body no longer talks of such rubbish as soul and spirit, but takes a sound view of the forces which live in engines and in chemistry, and that planets and suns arise from nebula in the cosmos. Materialistic physicians will be asked to drive the souls out of humanity. People who think that playful ideas will help them to look ahead to the future are very much mistaken. We need serious, profound ideas to look ahead to the future. Anthroposophy is not a game, not just a theory. It is a task that must be faced for the sake of human evolution.